One of the things that can make or break a SaaS business is the quality of their pricing page. Literally, if you get this part wrong, no matter how great your product is, people won't sign up. Now, a great SaaS pricing page is not just something that should just clearly show the overall cost, right? It needs to really demonstrate the value that the user is going to get. It should also allow them to have some effective comparison between the different tiers that you guys are also offering. Now here at Strive Creative, we've worked with multiple SaaS companies over the years. We've helped them optimize their strategies to make really epic, high converting pricing pages. So in this video, I'm going to give you a checklist of 7 items that I think you should be implementing into your pricing page, which is going to potentially 10x your conversion rate. So let's use the Notion site as a really great example of something done really, really well. Now, first things first is we've got lots of clear white space. This allows us to draw attention to really key things. Right at the top, we've got this big opening title, right? One tool for your whole company, and it's free for teams to try. And then we're instantly building credibility by showcasing the companies that could trust it. So this is almost like tip 1, right? Use credibility, use those logos of people that are already trusting you. Now, not everyone is as good as Notion, right? Not everyone has these massive companies, but you will have some clients. And if you're trying to attract a very specific industry, then that's a really nice way to kind of show those other people that are in that space. Now, the other thing here is we're not overly clogging this up with too much information at the top of the page, right? It's very clear. We've got a free version, a plus, a business, and an enterprise. And you'll also see that our attention is being very drawn to this plus one, right? We've got a slightly different contrasting button here, which says Get Started. It's a great way to draw attention to it. And we've also got this blue tab here, which says Popular. Now, color theory is a really, really key one when it comes to conversion rates. And actually just having our eyes drawn to certain things is a great way for someone to maybe just go, okay, that seems to be the obvious choice for me. The fact that we've got these high contrast options with the black to the gray is another really great way to draw attention to it. You've also got this little tab at the top, so we can jump between paying monthly or paying yearly. Obviously, all SaaS companies, we want them to pay yearly. We want them into that longer contract. So that's why, obviously, it always starts on there. But these are some really, really nice things that we can take from it. As we carry on down the page, they're also highlighting one particular key feature that they really want to push, right? They're referencing the fact that they also have this Notion AI. You can add this as an extra cost. And they're using this kind of purple to really draw attention for that particular branded item. Clearly the purple is going to resonate with this AI, with the idea of the Get Started button, the individual icons, and the small subtitle at the top of the page. Now, when it comes to comparison tables, I think Notion does this really, really well. There's definitely some improvements that I can show you a little bit later on in another one. But this works really nicely, right? We've got the individual lines across. It's very clear on the differences that are on them. It's a nice, easy way to move down. And we also just have these tick items here, or the number that might be represented in them. They're broken up so they're digestible. They're all under individual titles, so it's not one huge list. If it was one really large list, it can feel really overfacing, overbearing, so we need to avoid that. But having them all broken down nice and clean is a really great way to do it. They also have these individual tooltips. If anyone's a little bit unsure of what certain things mean, we can look at these tooltips and see the items that are on there. So that works really nicely too. As you carry on down to the bottom of it, if we've got this far down and we've not committed yet, maybe we just need that little bit of pushing, a little bit of a credibility push. So we're referencing that Figma already thinks really highly of us. We're referencing that Match Group think really highly of us. And maybe you just need to read some other customer stories first. Now, you don't always want to push the user away from the page, but if they're not quite ready to buy, at the end of the day, we may as well push them somewhere to help build credibility if we can. And another great area that can sometimes be overlooked on the pricing page is the Q&A section, the questions and answers. Now, this is great for a few reasons. First off, there's a lot of information here. So if we had all the answers on show, it's going to take up a lot of vertical space. It's going to feel really, really busy, which we don't want to do. Instead, you have to click into them to see the different answers. The other thing around this is really nicely. I wouldn't be surprised if they are tracking these individual clicks. So there's a particular question that is being constantly asked over and over and over again. We can make sure that we highlight that either as part of our user journey or as part of our sales material or even as part of our marketing. So there's some really nice items here that Notion is doing, and hopefully some ideas that you can start pulling out and move into your own one. Summary, I love an FAQ. I think that's going to work really, really well. Don't forget about credibility building. These are really nice ways of doing it. If you do have different tiers, try and break them up so they're a little bit more digestible, a little bit easier for you to absorb that content. If you can make use of logos as well to build credibility, that's also a really, really nice way of doing it. And try and have a particular recommended option. If the user's unsure which one to go with, they will probably just go with the most popular one. So why not highlight that to them? So we've looked at Notion pricing page. Now let's look at the Slack pricing page. Some have some really good points about them and others some not so good. So let's compare these to try and get the perfect pricing page altogether. First thing, obviously, big opening title, which is quite nice. We don't have the logos like we had on the Notion one, and we get straight into these ones. Now, the Slack option feels a lot more technical in its overall option. It's listing everything out. And unlike on Notion, that maybe would have had more negative space to highlight the overall difference, they actually do highlight, okay, you don't get this 99% guaranteed uptime with the free version. You don't get these exports for messages with the free version. That could be seen as a plus and a minus. You need to kind of vary that and you need to make those decisions yourself. But I think for the technical options of what Slack is offering, I think it makes sense for them to have these on here. Now, the great real takeaway from Slack that I do want to highlight is how it has its comparison tables. I think it actually does this a little bit better than how Notion does it. So this is the big takeaway for the Slack area. You'll see here that we have these options along here. I can highlight this with my cursor so it's really clear which line I'm on. And this is something that can sometimes happen, that if you look at your options, it's quite easy to get lost on which areas are for which. So just being able to look over here to go Slack huddles is included in all of these, audio and video clips included in all of these. It's a really nice way of doing it. The other thing that they do with this one is it's very clear that you can highlight your cursor over this and you get a little breakdown. And I don't have to click on anything, I can just move through all of these. I think this is a little bit nice in how Notion is doing it, whereas Notion is you have to click into them, you have to click them on and off. There's a lot that you can click into. So just having these all available, I think, is a really nice way of doing it. And this additional little bar that applies to strip works really nicely. As we mentioned with the Notion one, I think the fact that we have these titles to help break them up makes all of the content really digestible. And having your content digestible means people are more likely to read it, and we're going to end up with much higher conversion rates. As we get down to the bottom, they do have a far more colorful option. This is what is referred to as color contrast, which I've highlighted earlier in the video. It's a great way to really dive into it and draw attention to a particular area. And again, I think they do the FAQ really well, just like we have done before. A bit like we've seen on on the Notion page, we get all the way down to the bottom and we're still not quite ready to commit. Maybe they need some credibility building. I feel like this is a missed opportunity. This wasn't way higher up the original page. And then you get down to the bottom here. So for me, big wins again are let's have these logos, but higher up the page. Let's have these sections where we can break down and show the little options and how they link together. And if people do need that additional context to it, let's make sure they can get to that information as quickly as possible. So we've looked at Notion, we've looked at Slack, and now we're going to look at Pipedrive to see what we can learn, what can we add into your own pricing pages that are really going to drive up those conversion rates. So you'll see here that their title is a lot more basic, right? Just choose the best plan for you. It's not quite as inspiring as what we've seen on the Notion and the Slack one, which really drills home the point of what they have. They've also highlighted this monthly bill and the annual further out of the way, which isn't too much of an issue. Now for theirs, it's really clear the option that they want to push the user to. It's green, it highlights out, you've kind of got these icons to represent its most colorful, its most popular. And again, we've got this higher contrast button to really draw attention to be like, if you aren't sure which one you need, then just click on this option. That's kind of how they do these things. You can get your other features as you go down as well. But this is quite a nice option that they have. They have these additional add-ons. Now, Notion also had this as well, but you can have these additional add-ons. I do think it makes sense that they have these separate because I think it would confuse your overall pricing options higher up the page. And this is a real big takeaway, that if you do have lots of additional add-ons on all these elements, don't try and have them involved in this main pricing area to start with. Make the pricing at the start really simple so we can onboard them and then get them to add those additional items later. I think if we started to have this, plus here, let's add this option, let's add this here, it could start to spiral. It becomes overly confusing for the user and we'll probably get them to switch off. So keeping it really simple and just referencing the additional costs where they start from, for me, feels like a much nicer way of doing it. We skip down the page and you'll see that again, we've got some nice credibility building areas. And there's two ways that they're doing this. First off, big, large numbers. This is a big takeaway that we can have. Is there some big, large numbers you can make reference to in your own business? Even if it's just down to the number of messages sent or the number of X done. Having a big 100,000 sales teams immediately builds credibility, right? It means that you know it can be trusted because so many people are already using it. And then we're also highlighting out the overall testimonials. And these are great ways of doing things. We've obviously got the testimonial, we've got the photo, we've got the person, we've got their job title and who they work for. And the reason those are really great ways of doing it is obviously the testimonial is going to be really key. You might not know the person's name, but you might recognize their face. Vice versa, you might not know their face, but you might recognize their name. If you don't know either of those things, being able to associate yourself with the job title is really good to go, I'm also an operations manager, or I'm also an author. That works really well for me. And then lastly is just the overall name of the company. For me, I might have swapped this in here to have the logo to build some credibility and stealing from there. But again, these are definite things that we should be doing on our own. And then they've also got the FAQ again, nice, easy, open them up, clickable. You can see there's clearly a really good way of laying out these pricing pages. So if you're not having simplistic options, comparison tables, FAQs, testimonials, logos from companies that can trust it, these are all elements that you should really be highlighting that can really drive people through. And remember, if we get to the bottom of the page and they've not decided to commit, maybe we need to give them a slightly more personalized option. And I think Pipedrive does this really, really well to basically say, if you're not quite ready, why not just try it for free? Now, for you, that might be, why not set up a demo if you're not sure? Like, give them an option at the bottom of the page. If they're not quite ready to commit to the thing that we hope them for, which is buying, let's at least give them a secondary option that they can go with. So there's loads of hopefully valuable content that you can pull through all of these. We've obviously reviewed Notion, we've looked at Slack, we've looked at Pipedrive. They've all got some really nice options that we can all pull from. And hopefully I've really highlighted out those 7 items that I'm going to think that are going to really 10x how much money you guys are making from your SaaS products. Enjoy. If there's another video that you want to have a look at, YouTube is recommending this one here that's also going to help with your SaaS business. If you've got any ideas, please let me know. Any other kind of pages you want me to really focus on, please let me know in the comments section below. Have a great day and we'll speak soon. Bye.